Hello, welcome. TGB1 begins its second half of the season with a title race that looks set to go down to the wire. Jack and Kieran have been closely matched throughout, 4 wins each and 4 points of the difference. Former champions Jovial Manatee and Dan the Man are hanging on in there too. Should the front two slip up? Tonight, it's races around Austria and France, and we have landed in Europe for the midway point of the season, and there's no better person to join me in the commentary box tonight. 6-time TGB1 champion, the most successful driver in the league's history. It is, of course, the soft cop. Softy, how are you expecting tonight to go?
I think it should be a very close race, being Austria more so than France because it is a very simple circuit. I think it's going to be the usual guys up at the front, but I don't think it's going to be an easy win for anyone, really. Both circuits, and as we've seen Glock spinning on, I think he was going to go slightly faster as well. But yeah, I think Austria will prove to be a DRS train. Usually provides a close race in France. I'll be honest, I did 1 lap yesterday on France, and that's all I've done, so I'm not too sure what the pole time will be there, but I think France will be a difficult one with the aggressive curves.
Yeah, definitely. So 2 really interesting races coming up tonight. As I said, the gap in the championship is at just 4 points, so it is going to be very interesting to see how tonight goes. And Jack Hickman seems to have a habit of winning the first race of each night, so let's see if he can keep that streak going today. Jovial Manatee, who's one man, it's very good come qualifying, very good come the race starts, but for whatever reason, Softy, can't seem to have that when it comes to race pace.
He can't, and it could be for a number of reasons. It could be setup, it could be tyre pressures, it could be a variety of things. I personally think it may be the fact that he does use medium TC. I think on this game, medium TC is probably not really a disadvantage on outright pace. It doesn't limit you, I don't think, as much as previous games compared to no TC, but I think it may end up hindering slightly over a race distance, and I'd say probably the same with Dan the Man, who I think uses medium TC. So, but I think Jovial Manatee, he needs to sort it out. He's still in the chance for a title. He's got the pace on this game, so he needs to convert it where he can. And unfortunately, he's done well in qualifying, just not come the end of the 25%.
Phil Bardwell is inside the top 10 at the moment, currently P9. We've seen Phil Bardwell have a couple of incidents with Jack Hickman in the past couple of Austrian Grand Prix. Jack Hickman will want to be as far up, as far away as possible from that Alpine come today's race. But it's currently Glock quickest then, 2 tenths clear of Hickman. We've got Kieran third, Cam fourth, and Matt Tibbles completing that top 5. The pole time is a 104.7, a high 104.7 at the moment. Do you think we're going to see much improvement to that, Softly, or is that around the best lap we're going to see?
I mean, again, rose-tinted glasses, me not being in TGP, I know, with the few laps that I've done, and I do love talking about myself, but I also don't, as we see Phil Bardwell invalidating there. I would expect the pole time to be around a 4.4 or a 4.5, I'd say, at a push. So the times are slightly off what I think would be pole, but again, track conditions, all that, can have an effect on your lap time. So in the end, it doesn't matter what I can do or other people can do. End of the day, what matters is in the session itself, and I'm not in the session. These 20 drivers are. So, but I think at the minute Glock is looking good. He's got a 10.5 gap over Jack Hickman, as we say that Kai goes in second. So he's now got a 10th gap over Kai. So with 5 minutes to go, everyone will be preparing for their final lap. I think Glock can improve on that. I think he was going slightly quicker on his lap that he spun at the final corner. So, I'd probably expect it to be a bit quicker.
Yeah, one man finding pace at the moment is Aidan Griffins. Of course, there'll be more time for these drivers to get back out there on new sets of softs. You can usually get about 4 runs around this track. It's such a small layout, just over a minute lap. I'm sure one day in several years' time we might get below the 60-second marker. But Aidan Griffins, he's quick in sector 1. He's also quick in sector 2. This is going to put him right inside the top 10. You have to think maybe inside the front 2 rows if he can get this final couple of corners hooked up nicely. The Red Bull man runs a little wide, but not too wide. That invalidates the lap to the line. The Red Bull man, can he get himself on the front 2 rows of the grid? Goes 7th, not quite, but it's a big improvement.
It is, yeah. I think he took those final 2 corners quite cautiously, to be honest. So I definitely think he lost probably a 10th as he did, really, and probably a bit more. So, slightly more disappointing for him there. But end of the day, he's in P7. He can improve, so he'll get in and out for one more lap, I reckon.
Yeah, New Zealand Cam's had a bit of a mixed season. He's had some really inconsistent results. Last season, he really performed towards the end. He won some great races. I remember he beat yourself, Softy, at France. One of the very few drivers to manage to beat you over the course of a race distance. Well. Yeah, first win in the league. And it looked like he was really going to be a title contender this season. But I don't know why. He's just not been in the fight. I think this would probably be his highest qualifying result of the season if he finishes here. So do you know why Cam's lacking that pace this season?
Honestly, I don't. I really don't. It is nearly half a tenth up with any invalidates, but it could be a variety of things. I mean, this is a very different game. The setups are very different in terms of wing level, suspension, and all that. Sometimes it clicks, and if it's not clicking, and you think, right, I know I can be better than this, it can sometimes lead to being frustrated and then over driving, which I think it may be. I think on Twitter, I think with other leagues that he does, from what I gathered, at the end of the last game, he sort of lost his pace. He was struggling quite a lot, and it appears that potentially has continued onto this game. But I think he just needs to reset his mind, just accept, okay, I'm not in the chance for race wins at the minute. Let me just work on myself. Let me just focus on, right, driving, not 100%, 90%, just to ensure you're not making those mistakes. And, eventually that pace will come with confidence.
Yeah, indeed. We'd like to see Cam back up there, hopefully. He's 3/10 off the pace at the moment. The only driver really out there improving, I think, right now is, well, it was Alistair. He's invalidated at the penultimate corner. It's so easy to invalidate around here. What about his teammate, John Luke Taylor? He's about to start a lap, potentially, is he? Or is he just about to finish one? He's currently P8. Let's see where the Alfa Romeo man can go. Will he get a tow off his teammates? Didn't we see much of the tow around here, Softy, or is it not really that much of a benefit?
I think in the end you want a tow, no matter what, really. I think even on this game it is a lot less, same with the DRS. But end of the day, if you can get a benefit somehow, you may as well take it if you don't get too distracted. So if you can get a tow, I don't see any disadvantage with that.
Indeed, in practice I set a 105.4, so I'd be right in that midfield now if I was racing here in TGB1 this season. Unfortunately, I'm in TGB2 this season, so keep an eye out for that tomorrow. Of course, great title fight in that league. Both leagues have a championship separated by 4 or 5 points, so join us tomorrow for more TGB2 action. I think Alistair might have backed out from this lap. Indeed, he has.
Yeah, obviously he's actually spun as well there, so he's clearly made a mistake. But as we can see, Glock at the minute actually half a tenth down going into the middle sector on his lap, so he's not quite had the perfect first sector. He actually lost, I think, all that time in turn 1, which is there's only one corner in the first sector anyway, really. But yeah, very easy on these curbs on this circuit to just get a bit of oversteer, and that's all your time gone. But as we can see, Glock going into the middle sector, the double left-hander, 5th gear, upshift to 6th midway through, just to get that traction. You want to try and get the traction as best as you can. He is nearly a tenth and a half up on his current time, but we'll see, can he improve even further, and can he just avoid making that same mistake he did on the last lap through the penultimate corner. Quite safe, really. He doesn't use all the circuit, but I think he will still improve on his lap. It will probably be a low 4.6, and it's actually a 4.5, so there we go, pretty much bang on with what I was saying, a 4 to a 5, and I said I was party a mid 4 will be pole, and I've been proven right.
Well, Kieran actually backed off. He was up in the first sector. He was purple, but lost all that time and didn't improve. So I think he's going to try and go again. But there's a bit of traffic now on track because he's right behind a set of cars who will also start on their laps. Jack Hickey, this will be his final lap in the session. The championship leader is 4/10 adrift of Glock. Just about the lap time you said we should expect here. 104.5 from Glock. Can Jack Hickey get anywhere near that? It's not been a pretty first or second sector, really, but the Red Bull man needs some pace. Needs some pace to find here in the last couple of corners, or it's not going to be good enough, and he's going to be starting on the second row of the grid. So around the final corner now, the Red Bull man to the line. Can he improve on a 104.9? He can, and it's second, crucially, ahead of his title rival. And is Kieran improving? I'm not quite sure.
Cam's gone into P2 right behind Jack Hickey.
Great lap there from Cam. And Joe Lamanity down in 8th at the moment. He'll be looking to find pace. He's also out there on a lap. Kieran has found pace in the middle sector. The Alpine man needs to find just a few hundreds, and he'll be back ahead of his title rival. 4 points is the gap. Oh, he has.
And it's raining. It's raining.
Oh, a late shower of rain indeed. And Jake Davis, a very impressive P5. Phil Bargewell is finding time, but I think that's his session done. Matt Tibbos is on a lap, but yeah, the rain has suddenly arrived here at Spielberg.
Jovial Manatee is not improving at the minute, and he's actually half spun there nearly. So that's Jovial Manatee's run over sadly and no higher than P9. Although with his starts that he does get, I'm sure he'll be able to gain 2 or 3 places easily off the line.
Yeah, this will be Glock's third pole, you suspect. He's had them at the first round of the season in Bahrain, and then also again at Spain, and now looks like he'll get his third here because the rain has arrived. No one's really improving out there. The showers have opened.
I think no one's going to improve unless they have already done a horrendous lap, really. So I think on this game, the wet weather has more of an effect sooner, which is the way it should be, to be honest with yourself. But yeah, I think that is probably the qualifying oversea caught in P16 going into the pit. So I'll be very surprised now if anyone has received Matt Tibos actually at the final corner facing the barrier. So he must have spun and lost his wing, sadly. So yeah, that is the qualifying done.
Okay, then a slight anticlimactic end to qualifying. We still got some last laps in. Cam went second, Hickey went back ahead of Kieran, but Glock's time was unable to be matched or even beat, and that is the end of qualifying here. Then Jonas returns back to the pits, as does Aidan. We wait now for the drivers to get back into their garages, and the race will get underway. We are expecting a dry race here, so no rain expected, but then we didn't expect any qualifying, and look what happened towards the end of the session, so who knows. But yeah, interesting qualifying. Glock on pole. Now, Softy, can Glock finally, for the first time this season, go and get that race victory?
He's done all he can so far. Him and Cam, both had lackluster seasons, to be honest. But, they've both put themselves in that position where they're in the fight for the win. It's not going to be easy because you can just stay behind, save your ERS and sort of keep up with the car ahead. So I think ERS management is going to be key, but we'll see.
Well, there's not been a standout man in qualifying this season. Glock becomes the third driver to claim 3 pole positions, and it's a crucial lap for him that puts him at the very front for this race. And thankfully for him, Javel Manatee, who's the best of the starters in TGB1, is back in 9th. I'm not quite sure Roy's going to gain 8 places at the start, so he should be safe from the AlphaTauri. But it's Glock from Cam, the second row, the title contenders, Jack and Kieran, Aidan and Jake on the third row, Phil and Matt behind them, Javel Manatee and Jonas 9th and 10th, Mr. Chiapelli, Dan the Man, Alistair Bain, Corey, Jack Pearson, Court, Jack Craig, Wet Lemons, The Confessor, and Jordan, the last 2 drivers not sending a lap time in this session.
Yeah, and I must point out as well, I think, with the Confessor having a qualifying ban, it's going to be interesting to see what wing level he went for as well. I think in the races, the lower downforce, I think some people, I think at Monza, for example, the faster strategy is running, less than 5 wing, because no one can overtake you on the straights, and that's the only place to overtake. So it'll be interesting to see around here as well what wing levels people run. People might go for super low downforce, which is going to be good for the race, but not as good for qualifying. So it's going to be interesting to see what wing levels people have gone for. And I think if you've gone for the lower downforce, you should be in a better place for this race.
Okay, so as we said, no rain expected for the race. It should be dry throughout. It's going to be a fascinating one either way anyway. As I said, Kieran and Jack, the gap is 4 points in Jack's favour. Jack does start on the second row ahead of his rival, but both of them starting behind Glock and Cam, who are both looking for their first victories of the season. Softy, have you got a quick shout for who's going to win this one?
I'm going to say Glock, but to be honest with yourself, I think it's going to be close. So, as long as it's a close and clean race, I don't mind who wins.
Here we go then. We're here for round 11 of the season. The second half is very much ready to get underway. We've got Glock on the front row alongside New Zealand Cam. 5 lights are on. And the 5 lights here are off, and it's a great start from the front two. Jack Hickey crucially staying clear of his title rival. Watch the Aston Martin of Jake getting behind, trying to go up the inside of Kieran, and both Red Bulls are attacking on the opening lap. Aidan's up to 4th already. Kieran down to 5th. And JD spun on lap 1, not the start he needed, but Jack Hickey crucially staying clear of his title rival, and Aidan is challenging Kieran for 4th and 5th. This would be great for Hickey if his teammate can get ahead of the Alpine, but he'll have the inside line, will Kieran, and he should get that position, although Aidan has very good exit corner, and Phil Barger looking to get racy behind the two of them. But look at this, great start here in TGB1. A great start for Hickey, and an Alpine of Kieran and Phil are 5th and 6th.
Yeah, and Kai trying to go around the outside of Aidan there. He's making it stick, but Aidan does get far better traction. A lot of these drivers will be on the mediums, as we can see Aidan as well as Kai being on the mediums. Jack Hickey, however, has gone for those soft tyres, so he has decided to go a bit different than the cars around him. Glock, Cam, Kai, Phil, I think, as well. Well, I know Phil's gone for the soft. So the majority of the top guys have actually gone for the medium tyres. So at the minute, Jack Hickey and Phil Bargewell are probably the only guys in the top 9 that are on those softs. So they need to make them work now and not lose too much time to the cars ahead. But medium to soft is the better strategy with no safety cars.
Good mix of strategy then here in the field. Jack Hickey and Kieran going different ways, the 2 title contenders. But of course, the medium tyres do mean you get a slower start further back. We've got Corey going up the inside of Jack Pearson. He's made the move for P12, and Jack Pearson's lost it on the curb. Almost lost it into the barriers, but managed to keep it going. But yeah, great start there for Corey, up to 12th already, as Joe Manatee tries to attack Mr. Chiapelli round the outside here at turn 3. Will he get the move done? Not quite.
No, obviously, as we can see there, you know, a few drivers actually struggling on the exit of the turn two really. Wet Lemons has actually retired, and JD I think has also spun at that second corner, so not really what they wanted. But at the minute, it's still pretty close between the top three guys. You know, Jack Hickey not quite closing up on the top two as I think you'd like at this minute, but I think with the tyres around here, I actually think tyre weight is quite bad. So I think if you are the likes of Glock and Cam, you've got that lead. I think they are definitely on that better strategy in the position that they do have at the minute. As you know, it's going to be a long race, but Jack Hickey I think is just more so thinking, right, keep ahead of Kai, he's my championship rival, that's all I care about.
A tricky one for Alpine at the moment. Phil Bardwell clearly has the better pace over his teammate on the soft tyres, wants to attack Kieran, but also knows it's his teammate and they're both fighting for both championships, so can't really afford to make any sort of mistake. Kieran's getting closer now to Aiden with DRS in play. Is this the chance Kieran needs to go up the inside? Round the outside he'll try, but Aiden will surely just force him wide, keep that track, but look at them still side by side. He goes off the circuit and that's going to allow Phil Bardwell to go through on Kieran.
Yeah, I think nothing wrong from Aiden there. I think he did actually leave in the room, but I think Kai thought, right, he's going to go straight off the circuit quite early on in that. So, and here we go, Aiden and Phil then side by side. You know, Phil's up to P5 and Aiden's now you know, still in P4 at the minute. So I think this could be a race-long battle you know, between Aiden and Phil.
Yeah, we're seeing the team game here. This is great for Jack Hickey. His teammate Aiden is keeping both Alpines back. It's Red Bull versus Alpine for the constructors, and of course it's Kieran versus Jack Hickey for the Drivers' Championship. But Phil does have more pace than Kieran, so maybe now Phil can try and attack the Red Bull of Aiden, get through, and then start to chase after Jack Hickey. And of course Jack Hickey and Phil Bardwell, great friends on track, great friends off the track. They'll be looking for more battles here at Austria.
They will, yeah. You know, I think Phil is actually, you know, I've been teammates with him I think multiple times in TGP1 throughout my sort of career in the series, and Phil Bardwell is probably one of the guys that you want to have as your teammate. He is a team player. You know, he is fair in the decision. I think it was here a few years ago when we were teammates, when we actually had qualifying bans for not corner putting in Canada, and it paid off when we played the team game and we finished 1-2 from the back of the grid, so it was quite good. But here we go then, Phil Bardwell thinking around the outside of Aiden. Aiden leaves him just enough room, but he runs out of room on the exit and Phil nearly loses it there, so that's going to cost him a bit of time. But on those soft tyres I think he'll pull pretty quickly back up, and this is what I'm referring to as well. You know, with this game the slipstream not as powerful. You know, I think the wing levels are probably the big one, as we've got a yellow flag as we can see. Jovial Manatee's actually spun in that middle sector unfortunately, so he's dropping down the points and out of the points positions there. But yeah, it's very easy with a circuit like this to stay with the car ahead, even if you don't have the outright pace.
Lucas had quite a spin. It's very tricky out there, isn't it, for these drivers? Manatee's gone round and Mr. Giapelli was next to go.
It is Mr. Giapelli also.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the grip's probably quite low, sadly, but I think with the fact that they are running such low downforce as well, it does make the cars a lot more rear-end happy and you know, not as grippy. So, you know, yes, you're probably going to have the outright pace over a car you're battling, as we see Jonas and Dan the Man fighting for P8 there. But yeah, I think it's the lower downforce you run. Yeah, you're going to have better straight line speed. It's going to be easy to attack and defend, but you know, you're not going to have the outright grip you normally would, and the tyre wear is worse.
Yeah, indeed. So Jonas then now behind Dan the Man in P9. We've got Cam getting closer and closer as Corey goes off on the inside of Jonas. Can he get that stick? He can. The Williams man is up now into 9th place.
Yeah, good move from Corey there. And to be honest, you know, he's not really done that many races this season. I think he's done maybe 1 or 2 prior to this. And he's not really, you know, shown anything specific, you know, where you think, oh, he's a TGP champion. As we see, Jonas going in the pits as well as the Confessor there, so they're making that early stop just to try and get that undercut and the warmer tyres there. But yeah, I mean, with Corey this season, from the few races he's done, you know, is a self-proclaimed, you know, Hamilton fan. You know, and I think at one point he said he was going to come for my records in TGP1, which, you know, I mean, at that point I didn't have any of the records apart from, you know, the wins now, and he's not shown anything since saying that. So as we see Dan the Man on Matt Tibos just ahead of Corey actually, and Dan the Man has made that move stick.
Yeah, and we've got Cam getting closer and closer to Glock. The gap is coming down.
Corey spun at turn 2, so commentator's curse, I guess. So that's unfortunate for him. He's lost a few places, not too many though, so he's got more than enough time to make that back up.
We'll have to wait another week then to try and get your record, Softy, with that spin now down in P11 for the AlphaTauri man. Will we see Cam or Glock come into the pits? Probably not. They're both on medium tyres, aren't they? So I suspect they'll come in a little later on, rounds lap 10 or 11 maybe. See you try and find a gap in the field. But Jack Hickey will be one to watch. He should be coming in shortly. But meanwhile, Aidan Griffiths has kept back Phil and Kieran, and Phil now coming into the pit lane for his medium tyres.
Yeah, earlier stop than the cars around him, but again, he is on those soft tyres, so he's going to be trying to get that undercut as well. I think the undercut is quite powerful, purely because of that tyre warm-up. Obviously, it depends on the circuit really, but we'll see where he comes out. Currently, I think he's going to come out sort of P12 behind the two cars coming up the main straight really. But as we see, Matt Tibos has actually spun on the exit of turn 1. So this is what I was talking about as well with these curbs and this game. If you hit them wrong, you're going to go for a spin straight away. And I think with the lack of downforce, we're really seeing that in today's race. Quite a few spinners who wouldn't normally make these mistakes.
Tibos becoming the 3rd or 4th driver now to spin on the curves. That's not what he needed, but now back outside the top 10, of course, still to make his pit stop. I suspect he'll be coming in this time round, because those tyres are going to be very warm, aren't they?
They are, and we can see the gap between the top 2 is stayed relatively the same. And actually, New Zealand Cam 98% ERS, Glock 53. So this is what I'm referring to, is that Alistair's sadly crashed out in the middle sector. Won't bring out the safety car because there isn't one, as Jack Hickey does indeed pit. But yeah, what I was saying is Glock's used half more of his ERS than Cam behind him. This is what I'm referring to. You can sit behind a car, and here we go. Then Cam, I think, is going to make a move on Glock down into turn 2, but he's using his ERS to do that. Probably didn't even need to, but there you go. But this is what I'm referring to. If you're the car behind and it's just you and one other car, you can sit behind that car because they're going to be defending using their ERS, and you can just save it. So by the end of the race, and this is what I tried to do with Corey multiple times in previous seasons, you can then attack at the very end, and they're going to have no ERS to defend with. So New Zealand Cam at the minute is actually pulling away slightly from Glock as well.
Jack Hickey's losing time here. He's come out behind Jovial Manatee. Jovial Manatee still yet to pit in this race, and Hickey is now stuck behind the Alpha Tauri. He's down in P8. Kieran's just at the fastest lap of the race, so he's now going to start to pull a gap on those behind and get some fresh air. He'll come out later on, of course, on the quicker soft tyres, but Jack Hickey, crucially, needs to clear Jovial Manatee soon, because Manatee's going to stay out for another few laps. And I seem to remember a race in Singapore, Softy, when Manatee held everyone up. What's happened?
So, I don't know, at turn 2, Jake Davies was off on the exit on the left-hand side of turn 2 as the Confessor overtook him. So I don't know if there was any contact there or not. I don't think so, but it was very unusual to see Jake Davies sort of going off and spinning in that area of that corner. But yeah, no, as you were saying, Jovial Manatee did actually hold everyone up at Singapore last season, allow me to finally win my first Singapore Grand Prix after many attempts. But I'm just going to toot my own horn. I think I would have won it anyway, just about, but it would have been it would have been a lot closer. But thank you to Jovial Manatee for that. It made my life much easier, as Jack Hickey does finally get past Jovial Manatee into turn 2. And I think with those fresh tyres that Jack Hickey's on, I think he'll pull away pretty quickly from the Manatee.
Yeah, that was a thrilling race, that. Another one with split strategies throughout Singapore. I remember that one very greatly. Manatee holding up the whole field as you on the alternate strategy managed to have that pace. I mean, as you said, they had the pace anyway. So the chances was, as Luca spins the Confessor. I think Luca should have backed down with that one. But Confessor had made the move stuck, I think, and he's still ahead of Mr. Chiapelli. But Mr. Chiapelli's now lost a couple of seconds and now right in the battle with Corey and Jordan. So not what he needed. The McLaren man already harvesting as well on lap 10 as Corey goes up the inside of Mr. Chiapelli. Is there room?
Very late move there from Corey.
Yeah, very late move, but almost finding the way through. But Mr. Chiapelli very well to keep him back, especially with what I assume now much hard tyres.
Yeah, as he gets a bit of a wobble on there, does Mr. Chiapelli. But yeah, I think with Corey, it was a late move, but it actually nearly worked for him. He sort of scared Mr. Chiapelli off the racing line as he actually goes up the inside. But unfortunately for them both, they're pretty much out of ERS. So up the inside goes Corey. Nice move there as Mr. Chiapelli is pretty much having premium grip there or lack of. So I think Mr. Chiapelli probably will, I think, try to do something in the next few laps, and I don't think he's actually stopped yet, so I think he's probably left it a bit too late compared to his rivals.
Well, Joe Amante's just come out of the pits, warming his tyres up already. He's just in front of this little fight. He's now behind the Confessor, maybe helped by that little contact between the Mercedes and the McLaren. Now, Amante's got to keep those tyres as warm as he can, otherwise Corey will be all over him in just a few moments' time. But Amante looks to have done a good job. Those tyres, the softs also, I believe, take much shorter time to warm up to warmer temperatures.
They do, yeah. I mean, naturally, because they are soft tyres, they are grippier. They should, they should do that really. Interesting thing though is the Confessor has gone onto the hards. He's the only one that's on those hards. Everyone else is on the mediums. Then you've got Jovial Manatee on the softs. So and Court in P7 currently going on for those softs in pits at the minute. But yeah, very unusual tactic from the Confessor starting on those hards. I think he started on the mediums, I believe, or the softs. So you'd think you'd have gone to the next harder or the the softer one, depending on your tyre strategy really. So unusual. It's he's in P10 at the minute, so it's not too bad for him, but I think Jovial Manatee will get him pretty quick and pull away due to the tyre compounds.
Jack Hickey has displaced John as he's up into P7, needs to keep working his way up through the field. He's behind Phil Bardwell, who's already stopped by about 6 seconds. Is that correct? So has Jack Hickey had a spin somewhere then?
I'm not too sure, to be honest. I mean,
because he was definitely ahead of Phil, wasn't he? Before.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look at the race direct just to see if there's anything there that we've missed. And yeah, he did. I think on his actually no, saying that I don't think so. Oh, actually no, maybe I think he might have had a half spin on his previous lap. So lap 9, he did a 1:16 opposed to the last lap of a 1:7. So I think he did have a half spin or some sort of spin. So yeah, that's unfortunate for him, as we see Kai and Glock pitting, as Jack Hickey unfortunately has a 3-second penalty, so that's not going to help his cause. But we'll see where Jack Hickey comes out in relation to his rivals.
So Kieran has come up behind Phil Bardwell, who I'm sure will not make it too hard for him to get through. In fact, I dare say it, Phil hasn't tagged Jack in the round, has he? That would be quite a moment if he had. But Jack Hickey,
I don't know, we did it last season.
Yeah, Jack Hickey is now behind his title rival, and also Dan the Man and Will Kieran find it easy to get through on Phil.
Just came out the pits as well, so Dan the Man didn't have a great qualifying, hasn't had a great race, but it's up to P6 on those fresh softs. So Dan the Man's been working wonders so far in this race, under the radar, I'd really say.
So as things stand, it's going to be very close in the championship. I mean, as things stand, with the current positions, I believe Hickey and Kieran will be tied on points, but Cam, Aidan both yet to pit. We'll see where those two come out. Will Aidan come out? In fact, Aidan might come out ahead of his teammate, as Manatee and Confessor again side by side here in the second sector. The Mercedes and AlphaTauri are going scrapping. Who's going to come out on top of this one? Roy is the outside line. The hard tyres for the Confessor. I suggested that's a mistake. They didn't mean to put him on that, and he is now holding on for his dearest life ahead of Manatee, but he's so much quicker, and the Williams of Corey is getting involved in this too.
He is, yeah. I think the Confessor is probably, fighting a losing battle, but you may as well fight. You've got nothing to gain in front of you. You've only got places to lose behind you. So if you're not going to improve, you may as well fight for your life. And I think it's going to be quite an easy move down into turn 2. I think he's going to wait his Jovial Manatee as he does, trying to get that good exit out of the turn 1, and he needs to be careful as well, because any mistake with the battle, and Corey might be through on both of them. And here we go, then round the outside, he's going to make it before the corner, and he has, so nice and easy from there. Corey not quite close enough actually to have a go on the Confessor there, but that's a move for Jovial Manatee, and he's going to pull away pretty quickly at this rate.
We've got a spin further back. That's not Glock, is it? Has Glock just spun from what would have been a lead? It has. Glock spun around. He's thrown it away once again this season. The Williams man, who has victory in sight, throws it away, and that allows Kieran to go through. Cam has just made his pit stop.
Cam is coming out of the pits.
He will now take a huge lead.
Yeah, that's unusual. Has something happened to Glock multiple times, in that lap, or what? Because New Zealand Cam was. He was only about a second ahead of him coming into the pit, so he's now got an 8.5 second lead over Kai. So that's not worked out for VFL Glock, and actually Phil Bardwell is, I think, eyeing him up at the minute, but they are around the same as Phil Bardwell and Glock on ERS, around 28%. So I keep saying Glock's in a perfect position. I think I've said it multiple times after qualifying this season, with the number of sort of front row starts he's got, and every single time he seems to be bottled it, as he actually gets a bit of oversteer there. So, and one thing we've not actually covered as well is, if he has gone for a spin, which I think he has, his tyres are going to be a lot hotter, so he's going to take a few laps just to cool them down to bring them back into the working window.
There's a 10-point gap at the moment between Kieran and Jack if they finish 2nd and 6th. And Jack, of course, crucially, has that 3-second time penalty. He's just over 3 seconds clear of Court. Court making his way up through the field, really coming alive. Later on in this season, isn't he? Court getting 2 podiums in the space of 3 races, and doing brilliant. But now he's got to try and work his way up for the field, and with a penalty, it's going to be very tricky for him. But can Phil now get clear of Glock? Cam surely has this win in the back. He's got a 7.5 second lead. He can just take it to the finish, and Phil Bardwell spun it turn 1, and that's going to give Jack Hickey another couple of points. Phil Bardwell spins it at turn 1. A huge mistake for him, and it's Court Gillison going to get him too. He will. He'll go round the outside, and Jonas might also take the place. He's going to try, but Phil Bardwell drops to 7th.
Here comes Aidan Griffins on John, right behind these guys.
It's all happening here, isn't it? We've got 4 cars so close here. Into turn 3, we've got the Ferrari, the Alpine, Red Bull and Alfa Romeo. And for now, it's Court who leads this charge, but Jonas is attacking Phil with Aidan, trying to get both of them.
Here comes Aidan, though.
Can Aidan get through?
Aidan's going to do a Hamilton move on the exit of turn 1 at Italy at the weekend, so good move from Aidan there. They're still side by side is Phil Bardwell. And
Aidan Griffins has taken it, has he? Both cars in one corner.
That was a bit naughty from Phil Bardwell there. I think he tried to dive up the inside of that corner, understeered as we've got a spinner, and Glock spun again. Glock spun it again. P8, so unfortunately his bad luck and his mistakes continue, does Glock. So I think Glock's going to probably pit this lap just for fresh tyres. You may as well, or he's going to come in and retire. So dreadful result from Glock yet again. So all I can really say for that is he's bottled it yet again. But as I was saying with Phil and Aidan there, Jack Pearson and Aidan's retired. So yeah, Aidan's gave up then. But yeah, as I was sort of saying there is, Phil Bardwell sort of tried to outbrake Aidan into a fast left-hander, understeered, hit Aidan, and Aidan went off the circuit. So that may be coming to the stewards after this race, unfortunately. But Phil Bardwell currently is still in P6, and Jack Hickey's up to P4, and Dan the Man P3 at the minute with people's mistakes. So Dan the Man's not been on the pace as such, but the results are coming for him.
Well, this is great news for Hitman. He's now gone up from 6th to 4th. He's now got much more points on the board as things stand, and he's also put a gap on Court, with Court battling here with other drivers, and Phil Bardwell now putting Court under more pressure. He knows he can try and close the gap on Hitman, but there's just a lap to go. I think after the next one,
the Confessor and Corey haven't dropped Jovial Manatee ahead of them, so Jovial Manatee's not actually pulled away on those soft tyres. So I think he's probably running a bit too much downforce in comparison to the cars he's racing. So yeah, the Confessor, even though he's on those hard tyres, is keeping up, and he's probably going to actually attack him into turn 2 this lap, and he's actually got more ERS than Jovial Manatee as well.
He's just coming back to the medium runners, because we're seeing Phil all over Court, despite Court having the pace. Just a few laps to go, and looks like the Alpine is going to get through on the Ferrari man. Can he get the brakes later into turn 3? Phil Bardwell loves this corner, up the inside of Court Gillison. They get so close, and Court just about holds on to that position. Great camera here. Court still 5th, Phil 6th, and John is 7th.
He is, yeah. No, Jovial Manatee is, Corey's actually gone off. No, the Confessor actually gone off there, so I'm not too sure what happened to Confessor. I think he tried to go up the inside or outside of Jovial Manatee and probably outbraked himself, but Corey's thinking about going around the outside of Jovial Manatee there, and it is the second to last lap, so they need to be careful of not costing themselves position to each other, really. So yeah, but it's going to be an interesting last little lap and a half.
We need picture in picture here. There's so many battles throughout the field. It's hard to pick one to go with. There's 6/10 between Court, Phil and John. Even less between Roy, Corey and the Confessor. Let's see who gets who on the last lap. We've got to keep an eye out for Cam as well. He's on his final tour of the circuit, and 9-second lead. That's gone up 3 seconds in the last 3 laps. I wonder if Kieran's just also nursing at home to get P2, or maybe Cam's just that much quicker than everybody else. But can Corey get closer now? So Jovial Manatee into turn 1. This might be his final chance to attack. Will he wait for the next DRS?
The Confessor's also thinking of going up the inside of Corey there.
Yeah, let's quickly come back to Phil. Will Phil go for it? Cool on the last lap into turn 3. Tried last time.
He thinks about it.
And he's got it done, has he? Not quite. Phil will go back through again, will he? The Ferrari man is there on the outside. John is also.
John's got caught as well.
Also in the fight.
Goes up the inside of Glock. Corey even.
John's got 2 cars in 2 corners. Will he get up the inside of the Alpine? Not quite. And it's going to allow Court to get back through, will it? Not quite. Battles throughout the field. And as you said, Manatee is behind both of these cars now.
And Jovial Manatee trying to go around the outside at turn 3 of Corey, but not. But Jovial Manatee, as we see, Cam has finally won his second race. One race in each season, it seems, so far. So well done to Cam.
Kieran takes home second. He moves into the lead of the championship. Dan the Man will get his podium. Kieran is going to move clear of Jack Hickey, who finishes 4th. Phil Bardwell's going to be 5th. John is 6th. And Court will come home 7th. Corey looks like he's going to hold off Jovial Manatee for P9. Confessor has a penalty, so both will jump the Mercedes man, I believe. Indeed he does. And that will be your top 10. Matt Tibbers is going to be 11th. Jack Craig 12th. Glock 13th. And Jordan with the final point for 14th. Entertainer race that one, Softy.
It was, yeah, and as I said, with this circuit, because it's a relatively basic circuit as well, the racing is always relatively close. It's hard to overtake and then pull a gap unless the person makes a mistake. So I like Austria purely as a racing point of view, but also as a circuit, it's actually enjoyable to drive. It's hard to gain that time, so it was entertaining. But now I go to a very different track in France.
Yeah, indeed. Well done to Cam on his first victory of the season. And you said it's France next. That's where Cam got his first victory. Could we be looking at back-to-back wins here for Cam, who's really managed to get his season started at Austria? So Odem's your driver of the day, but your man up front for my driver of the day has to be Cam. The McLaren man finally taking that victory. I thought we were going to see about 5 weeks ago, but we're seeing it here. Also great to see Dan and Kieran join him alongside on the podium. Dan in yellow colours here tonight. Prix, of course, running a special livery as they celebrate 75 years. 75 years of what, Softy, do you know? Is it racing in Formula 1 or something?
I have no idea, to be honest. I think it's just 75 years of racing in Formula 1, probably, because they've been in it, I think, since the start, I think, bar, like one race or one season or something. So I don't really pay too much attention to that sort of stuff. So, I have no idea.
Yeah, 75 years or something. That's all I know. But well done to Cam on the victory. And it was Matt Tibbles who got the fastest lap. He'll get a bonus point as he just about finished inside the top 14, of which we award points in TGP. But what a race that was there. Cam from Kieran and Dan. And Softy, well, how'd you sum that one up?
Very interesting. Some good battles. A lot of mistakes from drivers due to the low downforce. Some surprise, I'd say, spins as well. You got Phil making moves. You got Corey making a few moves as well. Joe Mantis' lack of pace. The Confessor, I would suspect he should have been higher up anyway. Glock, unfortunately, I say this every week it seems, but bottling a good chance. Matt Tibos, another disappointment for him, sadly, and you've got the likes of Aidan Griffin's good race until the incident with Phil. So mixed fortunes for the drivers. Some will be very happy, some will be very disappointed and annoyed, I'm sure.
So then, what do you make of that incident between Aidan and Phil? I look at Aidan made a great double move originally on Phil, and I think it might have been caught possibly. But then, contact between Phil and Aidan. Did you see much of that? It was quite hard to see from the camera angle I had anyway.
I was on board with Aidan looking back. From that view, it did look like Phil tried to, he had his front wing just alongside Aidan's rear wheel. It looked like, he tried to brake a bit later than Aidan. Obviously, Phil was on the inside, but I think he tried to brake just a bit too late. That caused a bit more understeer when he tried to turn into the corner. Slightly, understeered into Aidan, who didn't really have any room. He left enough room on that inside for them both to go through there cleanly. But unfortunately, had that bit of understeer, tapped Aidan. It wasn't a huge tap, but it was enough where Aidan couldn't slow down, and then obviously off into the gravelly goes. So, unfortunate for Aidan, really. He did a very good race, and unfortunately, these things happen sometimes. It's very easy in the heat of the moment to think, right, I'm going to try and outbrake that person even by a fraction. But you always need to be mindful of what sort of corner you've got. If it's a fast corner and you try and outbrake someone, chances are you're going to do that, or what happened to Verstappen and Hamilton in Silverstone last year. So a bit of mindfulness goes a long way. Very easy to make those mistakes, in the heat of the moment, sadly.
I actually had a message before the race from Cam. What did he say? Cam sent me a message to say, right, now it really starts my season. And I put that down to, hopefully he'll get back into the top 5 places. I didn't think he was going to dominate the race just like that. That was some unbelievable form. And we're not quite sure, of course, how it would have developed had Glock not had those spins earlier on. Jack Hickman, Kieran, I don't think ever were really in contention. It was the two stand-up men of Glock and Cam. Either way, we were going to see a new winner for the season, but I suspect Cam might have just had the legs on Glock anyway, because he'd got the move done, I believe, before the pit stops anyway. Yeah, and then probably would have pulled clear. He seemed to have the pace anyway, certainly in the last few laps, smashing everyone else. Other than Matt Tibbles, of course, who got the fastest lap. But I believe Matt did go full Urs attack for that one on new set of softs.
Yeah, I think, well done to Cam. He's been sort of in the doldrums really this season, and this is what I'm referring to. This should help his confidence. He just needs to keep that level head, thinking, right, I've got to win this season. I know that with the right setup and with the right mindset and patience, he can do things. And this is one thing that a lot of drivers tend to struggle with when they're used to being at the front. Is it looks to be a dry qualifying. It's hard to see really, but it's very easy if you mess up your qualifying, you start mid-pack, to try and rush to the front rather than giving people the space that they need. So I think his issue has been his own mistakes, but also not qualifying where he expects and then trying to get through the pack and maybe having these incidents with people. But we'll see. He won this race last season in France, so he's got 1 win this season, 1 win last season. So we'll see what he can do, but he just needs to stay focused. It's very easy to just lose focus and think, right, well, I've got my win, see what happens. You've got to keep pushing. It's very easy just to lose time without really doing anything wrong if you're not focused.
We are here then at Paul Ricard, and wow, do you want to pick a driver, Softy, but not go on a lap just yet? Of course, they're all on their laps, but who do you want to go? Who is a title contender here? Do you think it's too late for Cam to get in the title fight? Surely he's too far back with that win.
I do think so. I do think so. I think the title fight, barring any serious DNFs from Kai and Jack Hickey, you can actually see Mr. Cheaply spun at turn 2. So a great outlap for him there. But yeah, I think we're midway point through the season at this point. The gap I think is too big. Barring any DNFs from the top 2 guys, it's going to be very difficult. Never say never though. It could very easily happen. Very unlikely. But all you need to do, if you know you're not in that title fight, all you need to do is think, right, well, I'm in it for myself. I've not got the pressure of thinking I need to win, I need to beat someone. You can just go out there, drive your heart out, and whatever happens. I always found that I think the one season that I've done where I've not been a title contender, the one where the Confessor / Odems won it when I was getting used to my wheel, it was a new experience for me. It was unusual because I didn't have that pressure of thinking, right, I need to beat these people. My focus was, right, just do my own thing, get used to my wheel, get used to what I need to do, come back stronger the next season. And the next season I did. I came in and I think I probably won it. I assume as Jack Craig sadly has also spun at turn 2. But yeah, anyway, enough of the past and things like that. Let's have a look at France now. And one thing I must point out with France is in the one session I did last night, I think it was me, Duke Humanity, Jack Pearson who did it. The lap I did was a 30.2. I don't know if that's fast or not, so we are going to see. It's going to be a surprise to me whether or not, as we see New Zealand Cam also spinning at turn 2, as I think a lot of drivers are riding a bit too much curb on that right-hander at turn 2 there. But yeah, I think 30.2, I don't know if it's good or not, so we'll see. It's going to be as much of a learning curve for me on what the pole time will be. Usually I'm relatively accurate, but France on this game, in the one lap I did notice the curbs. You actually want to try and avoid them as much as possible. Specifically, turn 1 and 2 is, at the minute I think I've seen about 3 or 4 drivers spinning it, going on to on the exit really, and it's purely because the curbs are quite high. It unsettles that rear end, and you just lose it, and you can't do anything about it. So you've got to be very careful with the curbs. And I'm not a huge fan of France, but it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be survival of the fittest, and who can get a clean lap in really on who's going to do well and who's going to win the race.
Well, I said Cam won that race. The gap before tonight, he was 136 points back from the leaders. He's pulled that back to 125, but I think with just 9 races to go, it's probably a bit too much for him to do something drastic. He'd have to win probably every race and hope the rest kind of have bad races here or there. The gap at the top of the championship is now just 2 points, and it has swung in Kieran's favour. So Kieran, 2 points clear of Jack Hickey after 11 rounds, and of course still 9 races to go here at France. And Jack Hickey on board of here as he's on his first lap time in this session. Currently the quickest is the 1:30.5 from Confessor. Will we see much quicker than that, Softly, or again is that a lap time we're expecting to see here?
I don't know. Again, this is the few times I've only recently set my wheel back up after moving house, so I've not really had much time to sort of race really or do any sweat or practice. So again, I did a 30.2 last night. I did 1 lap. It was the first lap I'd done at this circuit. Your guess is as good as mine, to be honest. I reckon the pole time probably will be a low 30, maybe even a high 29. I just don't know. It's whoever gets a clean lap in, whoever doesn't spin, as we can actually see Jack Pearson on the exit have also turned to having a spin. So it seems to be a common thing so far in this session. But yeah, and I think as well, actually, I must point out, as I was on board on New Zealand Cam's lap, New Zealand Cam's car looked very unstable. He actually spun it at the second to last corner without doing anything. So, I don't want to jinx him. I think Cam may have gone for the wrong setup, or he may be overdriving at this moment in time. So we'll have to see come the end of the session on who's where, really.
Well, a few comments. Wet Lemons brought up the fact that the curbs were death for him at Austria, and John is already losing this lap time in validation over the curb at Sector 1. That's his qualifying first run, already completing with 6 minutes into the session. Corey's out there at the moment. He's also now, he's in the third sector, the final sector. Can he get himself a representative lap time? No, he spun too. The curse of the commentary and following all the drivers and seems to be giving them a bit of bad luck out there. Try to be careful there. Jamie Batter points out that Jack Pearson is washed, but I mean, was Jack Pearson ever really good, Softy?
You can't be washed if you're always washed. That's just a standard thing. If you're always washed like Jack Pearson always has been, unfortunately for him, even though he does have a few wins in TG1, you've got to be good to then go bad. And if you've never been good, you can't go bad. So, in all seriousness to Jack Pearson, though, he's never had the outright pace of a lot of drivers, especially in recent seasons. But in the end, you've got to think he has won a few TGP1 races. And I don't know, has Jamie Mubata ever won any TGP1 races, or has it just been TGP2?
Well, unlike Jamie Mubata, Jack Pearson has won a title in TGP2. Of course, Jamie Mubata famously finished second for about 4 or 5 seasons in a row. Not quite ever able to get the top step. Jack Pearson, though, somehow won a title. And the field that season must have been Farmers, because Jack Pearson, as we've seen in TGP1, I don't know, why is he struggling so much, Jack Pearson, in TGP1? Because, of course, he used to win races back in 2015. Is it just the games don't suit him anymore? Is it the fact that he puts it down to the pad is that much slower than the wheel? But it can't really just be that, can it? Because Glock's doing much better and he's on a pad. In fact, Confessor's on a pad and he's currently quickest.
I'd like to point out, just so all the TGP viewers know, Jack Pearson in the past 4 seasons of F1 and 4 years has moaned that the wheel is overpowered. It's not. Certain circuits are beneficial, whereas some circuits are beneficial to the pad. He ended up buying himself the new Fanatec CSL Elite, CSL DD even. Obviously pre-ordered it, and then decided, you know what, I'm sitting on a pad, and cancelled it. So Jack Pearson cannot moan if he thinks the wheel is overpowered, because he had the chance for a wheel and then he decided to cancel it. So full view of Jack Pearson's logic there. Moans that the wheel is apparently OP, buys a wheel and then cancels it before it arrives. So I've got no sympathy there. But speaking on that side of things, wheel versus pad. Don't get me wrong, some circuits are beneficial to the wheel, some circuits are beneficial to the pad. It's just the way it goes. A lot of it, though, is down to the driver. I mean, people say Saudi Arabia and Monaco is a overpowered circuit for the wheel. Okay, if that's the case, then tell me why Glock this season and last season did decent at both those circuits. It's all well and good saying that it's overpowered, but if you've got a pad user that's doing well at those circuits, it can't be that overpowered. So but we'll leave that there and focus on the current qualifying. But the Confessor currently still on pole, a high 30.5. It'll be interesting to see if he or anyone can improve on that. At the minute, a lot of drivers still not set times, so only the top 10 currently have set valid lap times.
Well, New Zealand Cam, of course, winner of Austria, is very much a pad user, and he dominated that race. So I think, if anything, it's pad OP, Softy. I think it's time that us wheel users got a bit of an advantage back, because I'm fed up with these pads users getting an advantage. But Mr. Giabelli only goes P10 with a 1:32.9. It's the slowest of the quick runs so far. Jack Craig and Dan the Man yet to really set respectable lap times, but Glock out there now, finally looking to set a good lap time on the board. He will want to get himself the first man to get 4 poles this season. He had a pretty rough race in Austria, pretty rough season to be fair, over the last 5 weeks, but he's purple in Sector 1, and he could get a nice show off the McLaren ahead of him here in Sector 2.
Yes, he could, and the McLaren ahead of him is New Zealand Cam, so I think New Zealand Cam probably want to move out of the way immediately and not give any advantage to his competitors. But going into this chicane, someone's took out the bollard on the inside. It's actually what you need to do. You want to ride all of these curves as much as you can. Make sure, though, that you don't get on the power too early, because if you're on a curb while getting on the power, very easy just to spin it there. But going down to this sort of 90-degree right-hander, don't even need to lift. One thing I've noticed though, if you actually go off the circuit on this track, it does actually slow you down slightly, so you actually want to try and stay on the circuit rather than taking the esports lines. Stays in 5th gear around this long right-hander, very easy to lose the rear. This next corner, this left-hander, I hate. You can either take an earlier apex or a later apex, but it just feels like you lose time no matter what you do. So relatively nice there though, hits the apex, we'll see. And this corner is where a lot of people have been spinning. Takes quite a tight line into this penultimate corner. He takes a wide line into the last corner, which you want to do. Short shift 3rd into 4th, just try and get that traction, DRS open, and obviously coming to the line, can't do anything more than full throttle, and we'll see what he does. And it's a 30.4, so he does go pole. So this is sort of more the times I was expecting. I do think there is still a bit of time to come from the likes of Glock and Jack Hickey. So yeah, we'll see what it is, but it's quite good at the top at the minute.
Yeah, so a 30.4, the quickest time so far by Glock Confessor on the front row alongside with, and then there's like a 4/10th gap back to Jack Hickey, who's 3rd. Roy Humanity in 4th at the moment, a further 10th behind him. Phil Bardwell and Jake are 5th and 6th. A great lap from Jake. Jake's really struggled at the start of this season, but he's getting more used to the game now. Got the game very late. In fact, only bought it 5 weeks ago when the season started. But let's see what Corey can do. Corey's another one who's not quite at the pace this season. Another former champion in TGB2. There's so many former TGB2 champions in this lobby. We've got Alistair. He invalidates, yeah, indeed. Alistair, Corey, Jack Cray, Mr. Chiapelli, Jack Pearson, Wet Lemons. I think that's them all. So many champions.
Confess to them.
130.1, even quicker. Oh!
So I think I've been proven right yet again about my lap times, even though I sort of guessed it by just one lap I did. So yeah, I probably think the Confessor's looking good here. I'm just going to, has the say just pad OP around the circuit. Although I do actually think, according to a lot of the esports drivers and the fastest people on this game, I think this is supposedly a pad circuit, but yeah, again, it's all hills and dips really. Some circuits favour one and some circuits favour the other, but the Confessor at the minute, a good margin ahead of VFR Glock, so I think Glock will be thinking, oh, that's a tough gap to beat, and I didn't really see any issues with Glock's lap, so it's going to be a big one to try and overturn that gap.
Yeah, so fantastic stuff there. Let's see what Kieran can do. Jack Hickey's very much trying to put their pressure on his title rival, saying that Kieran is actually the favourite and always has been the favourite. Jack Hickey's only there because of his consistency. Well, let's see what Kieran can do here then. He's now the championship leader. He's got a 2-point gap over his rival to the line. Can he get himself at the very front of this qualifying session? A 130.1 is the time to beat for the Alpine man. Crosses the line and goes up to 4th, just behind, 1 place back from his title rival, Jack Hickey.
Yeah, very good from Kai there. That's all he needs to do, and as you were mentioning just then, Kai's sort of the favourite. I would say he is. I think Jack Hickey's got more consistency than Kai, but I think Kai does have that slight edge on pace, just not the consistency. I think this season will go down to the wire, barring any mistakes. But the fact that it is so close between these two drivers in terms of, I say, pace, but also the points. One mistake from one of them, let's say one guy wins and the other DNFs. That's a 25 to 26 point gap. That's going to be hard to pull back if the other person doesn't make mistakes. So, I think consistency is going to be the key. But I'm looking forward to it. For the rest of the season, as long as these guys still fight cleanly and get to the last race, super close on points, I think everyone will be happy with that, except them. I think they want to dominate and just get the title out of the way to relieve that pressure. But hopefully, it doesn't happen.
Well, it really has been a great battle between the two of them so far this season. Let's hope that continues over the next 5 weeks. 4 more weeks to come after this. Join us again next week. I think Owen's back in the box, potentially with either Yusofty or Jack. I'm not too sure. But looking forward to that one already. Let's see how this one goes first, though. Here at France, Jake Davis is really impressing this season. Struggled at the start, but in the most recent races has got himself right back to the mid-pack, right where he feels he should be. A former TGB1 champion, let's not forget, Jake Davis. Dropped down to TGB2 for a week earlier in the season, got back that pace, that confidence, and he's invalidated, and he'll come straight back into the pits, and there should be enough time to get back out for one more lap.
Yes, it'll need to be quick though. No dawdling about in the garage and stuff. But yeah, Jake Davis massively struggled at the start of this season. I think he actually dropped down to TGP2. Is he permanently in TGP2 or is he?
It was just
a one-off. Just a one-off, was it? Okay. He did well in the race in TGP2 that he did. because he was struggling so much in TGB1. But I think he did turn TC off. I think towards the end of last season, was it? So he had to get used to that. Obviously, again, not as much time on the game as a lot of other people, getting it late. That all adds up in the end. I think last time I checked, I hadn't checked for a while, but Jack Hickey and myself have done about 50 hours on the game. I think Jake Davies done about 13 hours on the game last time I sort of saw it, whereas the likes of Glock has done I think around 150, 160. Cam I think is about 115 or something along those lines. I'm just going to say I'm not a stalker, everyone. I just like looking at people's game times in general. But yeah, game time matters in the end. If you've done 2,000 hours on a game and your championship rival's done 5, you're going to have a huge advantage on knowledge. So it's all about the knowledge. You want to improve where you can, and sometimes just playing the game, even if it's not even sweating, you'll learn things that you probably wouldn't otherwise.
How come you don't know my hours, Softy? Am I not worthy enough to look at the hours for?
No, you just hide yours because you don't like people knowing your hours on games, which I don't know why, because I love looking at it, but yeah, I think a few people hide it probably because I like looking. So, but yeah, and this is the point I make as well with game hours. People call me sweaty. Don't get me wrong, yeah, I like sweating. I'm not even in TGP, and I do a bit here and there just to see how I compare to the current drivers and stuff, and even the esports drivers. But what you need to consider is, let's say you've got you and another version of yourself. You're both equal in every single way in terms of pace, consistency, everything. Then one of you has done 1,000 hours, and one of you has done 5 hours. Which one's going to be quicker? The one that's done more hours, because you've got that experience. So it's not the end all or be all. End of the day, you could do 10 hours and be far quicker than someone who's done a lot more than you. It's down to the person, it's down to the driver, it's down to how well and how quick that person adapts and works with the game. So in the end, the driver is the one that makes the difference. And it's not like F1 where people have got different cars. Everyone's got equal cars. It's just the setups and the driver that makes that difference in TGP, and that's what's good about it.
I get the feeling that Jack Hickey must have cut a corner late on in the lap, because he's not even attempting to start another one. Unless he's ran out of field.
Yeah.
I think maybe he's just invalidated, and it's invalidated both his current and next lap. That's him out.
If you cut the fast left-hander, I think because it's so close to the end of the lap, I think it does then invalidate your next lap. So unfortunately, he won't. I mean, it's third place. It's not too bad. He's ahead of his championship rival, so not too bad from himself there. As we see the Mercedes of, I think that's. Who is the Mercedes? One of the Mercedes, I think, was going spinning there, so it must have been Jack Pearson. But yeah, unfortunately, he sort of it cost himself really any better chance of a lap. So, but the Confessor is on his final lap, so we'll actually see if the Confessor can go any quicker.
And Glock's invalidated. That's his qualifying done. So Confessor may not need to go much quicker. Well. He was fine in time, but that's already his second and third places. No more laps for them, and all for Cam. In fact, it's going to be down to Kieran only. Kieran's 2 tenths up in the first sector. Needs to find 7 more, though. It's not been a great lap. Dan the Man goes up into P5. He's back on the front 3 rows. Kieran displaced down to 6th. He's really got to find and prove it now. The pressure's on. Not to invalidate. How hard will he push? Will he just try and get himself up nearer the front? Maybe not risk it for the pole, but maybe get himself maybe 2nd or 3rd, because the gap between 1st and 2nd is so big. Cam, P4. No improvement for him. No improvement for anyone else in the top 5. It's going to be 6 downwards to see what they can do. Jovial Manatee was slightly further up on the roads. Can he find an improvement? He's a very quick starter. He's only 200ths of a second away from displacing Kieran down another position. Court's in P8. Alistair now puts him down a place. He's gone into P8. What about Jovial Manatee then? Where can he go? Where can Jonas go? He's currently 12th at the moment. The Alfa Romeo man will be first of these drivers to cross the finish line. He is currently P12, stays P12. Jovial Manatee up to P6, and now all eyes are on Kieran, the Alpine man, the championship leader, 7th at the moment. Can he get himself up near the front 2 rows of the grid? Can he get himself ahead of Jack Hickey? He can. He goes 2nd, a 1:30.3. It's not quite a pole time, but it's a very good lap time for him, and puts him on the front row for the race.
It is, and here comes the Confessor around the final corner. He was actually 10th up going on to that main back straight, but he actually had a bit of a slide. So I think he will improve just about. And no, he doesn't. He actually loses all that time, the Confessor. That is pretty much qualifying done, it looks like. So we're just waiting for VFL Glock and Jack Craig to pit. But yeah, sort of where Schumacher crashed last season, the Confessor has had a bit of a slide as he was a 10th up on his lap. So that sadly has cost him. But in the end, it's a pole position. So I don't think he'll be too disappointed with that.
Very good lap from Odems. Another superb qualifying performance there from the Mercedes man, and that is Odems's second pole of the season. Got one back in Spain, so he takes his second here at France. So it's him on pole from Kieran, Glock and Jack Hickey on the second row. Cam's got fifth. Down the man starts alongside in P6. Manatee and Phil on the fourth row, with Alistair and Court completing the top 10. Jake Davis will be happy with P11, I suspect. Jonas maybe not so much with P12. Wet Lemons and Jack Craig will be looking to finish in the points come the race for them, but 2 seconds adrift. With Corey, Matt Tibbos and Jordan not setting a lap time. Jack Pearson and Luca 15th and 16th on that 8th row.
Yeah, very good from obviously from some drivers. Bit disappointing for some as well. I think Jack Hickey will be satisfied, with P4. He's placing a bit behind his championship rival, but that's okay. He just needs to think right, stay close to him, attack where I can. Again, consistency is key. And I must say, disappointing there. Matt Tibbos, he actually only did one lap and it was invalid. If he completed that lap, it would have been about P9, P10. So, unfortunately for Matt Tibbos, not quite showing he's got that outright pace in qualifying, but his race pace is definitely much better than his qualifying pace this season.
Yeah, the Confessor, also known as Odems. So if I keep referring to him as Odems, it's just what we were used to. It's what he won his title under, the name Odems. Now, the Confessor. He's had many a Twitter name. I suspect it's because he gets banned all the time for his comments about the Lewis Hamilton fan base. But ahead of this race then in France, will we see Odems take his first victory of the season, Softy?
I mean, it's possible. He was very well in the fight for Spain. But yeah, he's made a lot of mistakes. So we'll see.
Well, here we go then. The French Grand Prix is about to begin. We've got 5 lights on the screen, and we are racing. Is that a great start from Kieran? It looks like a very good start from the AlphaTauri of Joe Manatee. At least he's already gained 1 place.
And
Make that
Kieran
2, make that 3. Kieran's lost dramatically down to P8. What's happened? A terrible start for the Alpine man. And Joe Manatee is going side by side with Glock. Hard tyres for the championship leader. Is that a mistake? Not the tyres you'd suspect he'd want to start on. We've got Phil Bardwell and Jack Hickey going side by side. Those two great friends on and off the circuit, and it's soft tyres for Phil Bardwell. Jack Hitman this time going for the mediums, maybe learning from his Austria mistake, seeing so many Tyler rivals go for the medium tyres. He pushes Phil a little wide, takes the place, and the Red Bull man is up into P6, but a very poor start from Kieran. He's down to 12th.
Yeah, he got a very poor start on those hard tyres, so it may have been a mistake, it may have been tactical, I'm not too sure to be honest with yourself, but yeah, that's cost him a lot of places. He did it all well in qualifying, and now he's many places behind his championship rival at the minute.
Cam and Dan going side by side for P5 and P4. Looks like Dan has just about held on to this one, but we've got Confessor leading away from Joe Manatee. Can Joe Manatee? Phil Bardwell spun not for the first time this season. We've got these two still side by side, Cam and Dan going so close together. Looks like Dan the Man is just going to hold on to this place. Dan the Man's lost the back end. Round he goes. And Dan the Man drops to the rear of the field. Very easy to do, like you say. And that's not what he needed. Great news for Cam now. He can start to try and pull clear and catch up with the top 3. Glock is attacking Joe Manatee ahead of him. And we'll see here if Joe Manatee can have the race pace that seems to be lacking so far this season, Softy.
It does, yeah. I don't really know what it is. Again, I think it may be the medium TC, because we've seen similar things with Dan the Man, being inconsistent in the races. Kieran's actually pitted already, so I'm not sure.
Doesn't like those hard tyres.
Pitting on lap 2. No, he definitely does not like those hard tyres. So what is he going to go on to? I think he's going to go on to those medium tyres. So we'll see if he can go to the end on them. I don't think tyre wear's too bad around here, so it may be a possibility. But yeah, down in P18 while his championship rival's in 5th. This is what I'm talking about. These mistakes can easily cost you a lot of points.
A lot of drivers then going for the mediums. Only 4 actually on the soft tyres now. Phil Bardwell, one of them at the back. We've got Manatee, the highest of them. P2 already a second adrift of Confessor. He won't get the toe there. And we've got a spinning Aston Martin. Is that Jack Craig? I think it is. Bit of damage I saw flying up in the air. Now Jonas is attacking Cord Gillison. He's in an Alfa Romeo sandwich here. Looks like Court for now holding on to the position. Phil Bardwell will take no further part in this race. No points for Alpine at the moment. This is a huge blow for the team looking to get the Constructors' title leaders, I believe. And Red Bull without Aiden. Aiden couldn't return for the race, had to move house, I believe. So he is not getting great points for the Red Bull team here. It's just Jack Hickey of the leading 2 Constructors is actually still looking to score points here. But Glock attacking Manatee, the gap 3/10, and I suspect he'll be passing him very soon on the DRS.
Yeah, there's quite a nice battle between JD and Jean at the minute. These, I think, are the closest battles going on. But JD thinking, I'm going to overtake you off the circuit there, but rightfully backs out. So Jean keeps that place. But yeah, a nice little battle in the mid pack at the minute. But people still need to be careful of these curves because they have not changed since qualifying. But at the minute, the Confessor 1.5 seconds ahead of Jovi Manatee, and Jovi Manatee's on the soft tyres as well. So I think yet again, he doesn't have the pace. He's on the faster tyre, and he's still losing time to the Confessor. So this is perfect for the Confessor, not perfect for Jovi Manatee or VFR Glock. VFR Glock needs to overtake him soon and chase down the Confessor, and same with New Zealand Cam.
Looking very good for a new winner. Either way, anyway, none of the top three have won a race this season. The Confessor, Manatee and Glock all searching for that first taste. Cam only won his first race.
Corey's up.
Last time out, Corey's binned it in the wall. He'll take no further part. Already 2 retirements from this race. Kieran and Jack have made stops. Jack Cray's coming in for his first stop. And now Glock up the inside over Manatee. He'll take the position into the chicane. And the Williams man is up into P2 and can start chasing down the Confessor.
He is, yeah. And actually Corey then was actually facing backwards where he's crashed. I'm not too sure if he's gone into the wall or there's been a bit of contact, so unfortunate for him there, but that's another lackluster evening for him when it comes to his races. But at the minute the gap at the front is 1.8 seconds to now 2 seconds, so Glock's going to have to probably use a bit more ERS, and actually Glock 43%, the Confessor 73, so Glock's now going to have to use more ERS and more of his tyres to get that gap down.
Well, great battles here. How soon until Roy makes that pit stop for medium tyres? Will we see Cam attacking him down into turn 1? DRS, of course, is now in play. I believe there's 2 areas to use the DRS. Down this long straight and then the other after this tight, twisty first sector. And can we see Cam get any closer to Manatee into turn 1? Not quite, because Roy, of course, himself also has the advantage of DRS. He's within a second of Glock, so that might keep the AlphaTauri man ahead of the McLaren for now. But look how much more confident he is through that first couple of corners, and the McLaren man, despite being on the slower tyres, probably coming in to be the quicker tyres now as those softs get a bit worn. Cam looking like he's going to get through very quickly.
Yeah, although Cam has actually got less than 10% of his ERS, so this pace is probably all related to his ERS rather than his general pace. Jovi Manatee's got 36%, while VFL Glock has got 33. So yeah, Cam, okay, yeah, he's done well, but it's cost him because this circuit's not that easy to regain that ERS. So it's going to be, I reckon, a bit more difficult to overtake than it should be if he actually had a decent amount of ERS. I think he should wait a lap or two, get that ERS up, and he keeps using it even when it's under 10. Don't use it for a lap or two, get that ERS up, and then actually have a meaningful attack, and that should work for him. But I don't think he's going to do that.
Well, yeah, Cam already down to, well, pretty much the very bottom of his ERS. He's used it all to try and get clear of Roy, and it's not quite worked, unfortunately. He's going to have to try and build that up now because Roy has the advantage of 35%. I wondered why Roy was managing to keep ahead of the McLaren so easily. Glock is coming down slightly, that gap to Confessor down to 1.7, but still good breathing space for the Mercedes man. Needs to just keep clear though. He's had a few spins so far this season, but to be fair, so has Glock. Maybe Manatee's probably favourite the way those two have had their seasons so far.
Yeah, I mean, at this moment in time, at least for the Confessor, the only person who can ruin it is himself. He's not got to worry about the safety car because it's turned off. He's not in any battle with any drivers. The only person who can cause himself to lose this race win is himself with the track limits. But we do know that Glock sometimes does get penalties for track extending and corner cutting. Obviously never intentional, of course, but when you're pushing to the limit, it can happen sometimes. But yeah, that gap is slowly coming down, although he does need to be careful of the amount of ERS he is using, and Glock 22% while the Confessor's 57%. So as we see New Zealand Cam coming upon Jovi Manatee for third up the inside, and that's a nice move for him.
Yeah, lovely stuff from Cam up to P3, now finally clear of the AlphaTauri, but not a lot of ERS, so he'll find it hard to catch up and pass VRFR Glock, who's ahead of him. We've got Kieran now down in P12, and by the way, can I just say, great start for Matt Tirbos and JD. They've both gained 10 places each in this race, so fantastic starts for them. And wow, what a race it's been so far. We've still got more than half distance to go. We've got Kieran, who's made an early stop, so keep an eye out for him. When everyone else pits ahead, we'll see where Kieran comes out, because he's been very quick since that pit stop. He might come out ahead of a lot of these drivers, don't be surprised, but he will have very poor grip come the final few laps. I think he went on to soft tyres. Did he softy when he came in for his pit stop, or has he gone on to mediums?
He's on mediums. He's on mediums, so he went from hard to mediums. But I mean, the gap between him and Dan the man ahead of him, as Jovial Manatee does finally pit, is 14.5 seconds. So I reckon that the pit lane time overall for a pit stop is about 22, 23 seconds. So I think even though he's going to, he's already made his stop, he's still not going to gain a huge amount of positions, barring any mistakes, sadly, for Kai. So I think it's going to be a painful one for him, this race, sadly.
We'll get an idea, because Manatee was, of course, behind Cam in between him and Jack Hickey. And Manatee's just leaving the pit lane now, and I think he is just going to come out ahead of Kieran, but it's not by much. So Kieran will be probably ahead of Court when Court makes his stop. So he's probably a net P6 or 7, I think, Kieran, at the moment. But as I said, his tyres won't be too good come the end of the race. While a lot of these drivers currently in the top 4 at the moment will be pitting for fresh, soft tyres come the end of the race. So Cam looking like he will lose that championship lead after holding it for one race. 2 points the gap at the moment. But with Jack Hickey only 4th, he shouldn't be losing too many points, because I'm not sure Jack Hickey can do much about Confessor and Glock, at least. Whether or not he can catch Cam, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, at the minute, Jack Hickey's got 73% ERS, while Cam's got 0%. So I think Jack Hickey is probably going to close up quicker than normal because of that ERS deficit. But yeah, I don't think Jack Hickey's got the pace for VFL Glock, or even the Confessor, and Glock's now 2.4 seconds behind. So the Confessor has actually been using a lot of his ERS. He's now down to 35% to Glock's 25%. So I think a lot of that gap has gone up because of that ERS is being used. But the Confessor has the pace over Glock this race, it seems.
Indeed it does. We've got Matt Tibbles moving his way up for the field very nicely. He's up another place, and now he's all over Johners. Can he try and get himself into the top 6 of this race? Great drive from Matt Tibbles. Struggled so far this season. Another former champion who just doesn't seem to have the pace anywhere near like those at the front do. Looks like he's not going to be in title contention for a short while, at least anyway. Matt Tibbles not quite as quick as he used to be. Any reasons for that? I think he said he's not quite in as many leagues anymore, Softy. Is that correct?
I think so. I mean, I always do like to sort of have a look to see sort of, what other drivers do in terms of leagues and stuff like that. I know, Matt Tibos has been in, I think, 4 or 5 leagues for a number of years, every week sort of thing. So that's a lot of, and again, experience on the game. It's a lot of experience, maybe not so much sweat, but when you do 50% races, that's a heavy number of laps really. So I just don't think if he's not in that many leagues, not playing the game as much, that will have an effect on your overall pace. And sadly, he's not really performing too well this season. I think qualifying has been not very good. His race pace is definitely much better than his qualifying pace. But yeah, he's I think he's a double champion, isn't he? His pace isn't really where I think he would want, or many of us would expect.
Yeah, it's a shame. We'd like to see Matt Tibbles back up at the front again, but we are at least seeing him battle those ahead. Oh, he has. That could cost him at the end against Jack Hickey. 3-second time penalty. As we're not seeing more, to be honest. Jonas dives into the pit lane to get him some fresh softs to the end on the 8th lap of this race. Odem's leads though from Glock. The gap still just over 2 seconds, 2.5 it is between him and the Williams man. Jack Hickey's a further 3 back in P3, and Court now up to 4th with pit stops for Cam and Jonas as Matt Tibbles continues now to attack those ahead. And the car in front of him now is the Ferrari, the yellow design livery Ferrari of Cord Gillison.
Yeah, he's got Matt Tibos right behind him though, so I think both started on the medium tyres, same with all the cars ahead of these guys. So I think Court has been doing very well the past few races. There's the yellow flag in somewhere. There's no specific reason for that, it looks like, on the map. But yeah, Court's been doing very well the past few races, getting podiums. He's actually showing that he's got some good pace, and by the looks of it, he's also got some very good straight line speed as well. DRS not really having much of an impact on that. So, but yeah, Matt Tibos is doing all he can. Court's actually got a lot more ERS as well, 64% to Matt Tibos's 7%. So I think it's going to be a bit easier for Court to defend, even without using his ERS.
Lots of battles on track at the moment. We've got Kieran attacking Roy, the gap 2/10. Kieran, of course, has the older tyres, but arguably the much quicker pace. He is the championship leader for a reason. The Confessor has had a spin. He's not pitted. I thought maybe he'd come into the pits, but he's gone off. He's spun round and he throws away the victory, potentially like Glock did at the last race. He's going to come straight into the pits, as does Glock. Now don't speed in the pit lane. Normally it's very easy to get a penalty after getting so angry from a mistake. The top three are all in then, and unfortunately,
Court gets a penalty.
for Cord, he's got a time penalty. Unfortunately for the Mercedes, the Confessor, he's thrown it all away. He's got a long second half of the race now to get back up through the field.
I mean, he's still right behind Jack Hickey and Glock, so he's still in contention for the win. He showed that he had a bit more pace than Jack Hickey and Glock. I think at the minute he's got the same amount of verse, 57% for the Confessor.
He might be behind Kieran.
54%. Yes, not quite, maybe.
Yeah, they come.
Not quite. The Confessor does stay ahead, although Jovial Manatee is right behind him on slightly worse tyres. But the cars ahead compared to Kieran and Jovial Manatee are now on fresh soft. So I don't think they're going to stay with these guys for very long. But yeah, and as I said earlier on in the race, the Confessor, the only person he's got to worry about is himself and track limits. And he made a rookie mistake. He spun. He made a mistake and it's cost him the net race lead at the minute. And now he's got to get past Jack Hickey, who I'm sure is probably not going to let him go by too easily, and then close up in to VFL Glock within 3-4 laps. So it's going to be a tough ask.
Well, Cam, who pitted a lap earlier than Glock, Hickey and Confessor, is now fighting for the lead of this race. He's just 3/10 off Glock. Of course, JD still needs to pit from the front, so it's Glock net leader with Cam just 3/10 to drift. It's a shame he's got that 3-second time penalty, because that is crucially probably going to cost him come the end of this race. Only 4 laps to go. He's got to get through and pull the gap, which I'm not sure he would do. They're all on soft tyres now, this front quartet. But Jack Hickey has to now try and hold back the Confessor as Glock tries to keep back the McLaren and New Zealand Cam.
Yeah, New Zealand Cam, I thought he went wrong in qualifying. He was probably just getting used to the circuit. A lot of spins for him, it seemed, with the curves. But as JD pits then, so they don't have to worry about them hitting him ahead. But yeah, unfortunately, New Zealand Cam, even though he's in the fight for the win on the circuit, it won't be a fight for the win come the end results. But I think the important thing at the minute is the Confessor being right behind Jack Hickey. So they're both relatively equal on hers as well, both these drivers, the Red Bull and the Mercedes. So it'll be interesting to see if in the next 3 and a bit laps, if the Confessor can indeed get that gap. I don't think he'll be able to. So VFL Glock just does not need to make any mistakes. Commentators curse Glock. Don't spin, don't corner court, don't make mistakes. You've got this win relatively easy in the bag. So, yeah, it's going to be down to the Confessor to see what he can do. But here he comes on Jack Hickey. He's going to try and go around the outside. He's thinking about it. Bit of contact there, but the Confessor round the outside of Jack Hickey. So Jack Hickey unable to do anything there.
Not only does Jack Hickey lose a place, but he's also lost a second position, because that now means he's more than 3 seconds adrift of New Zealand Cam, so he would drop down to 4th. This thing stand, not what he needs here in this race. New Zealand Cam second at the moment, now a second adrift of Glock. Surely he can't throw this away. Can he get his first win of the season? Kieran still trying his hardest to get past Roy, and if he can get past Roy, he's only going to lose 2 points to his title leader, despite dropping to 15th on the first lap and pitting for a new set of medium tyres, which, by the way, are now 9 laps old, soon to be 10 and soon to be 12 when this race reaches its climax. But we've got lots of battles through the track then. Can Kieran get through on Manatee? Can Jack Hickey get back ahead of Confessor, who is Aerodams, of course? And can Cam pull that 3-second gap to those behind him?
I don't know, the Glock's pulled the pin really, 2.2 seconds now to Cam. I don't think Cam's got the overall pace anyway. The Confessor will be closing him down, especially with the fact that Cam's under 10%, so you'll be derating down the straights and not having that straight line speed. I don't think Jack Hickey is done yet. He wants to pull that gap as well and get that 3rd place if worst case, but he nearly spins there, does Jack Hickey. So yeah, the Confessor's doing what he can, but unfortunately it's not going to be enough. He made that mistake himself, and he's only got himself to blame for throwing away a win. And it happens very easy. You're in the lead, you're comfortable, you lose sight of being focused, you make one mistake, get on the power a bit too early, hit a curb wrong, and you spin. It happened to me in Monaco last season. I was comfortably leading and slightly tapped the wall, and I finished second. So it's a lot easier than people think.
So we saw at the start of the season Kieran and Jack Hickey taking 4 wins each from the first 4 weeks, and wow, they've really impressed, haven't they? But Kieran up the inside now, Jovial Manatee, can he get P5 ahead of the AlphaTauri? Not quite able to get the position. Manatee holds on for now, but what I was going to say was we saw Kieran and Jack impress in the first 4 weeks of the season, but it doesn't seem like these two are going to win a race at the moment. They just haven't got the pace that's like, that Glock, Cam, Confessor seem to have. Is it because they're now thinking about the championship, so they're not as pushing as much, or is it just the other guys are just naturally quicker and these are just the most consistent of the season?
Yeah, I don't think it'll be anything to do with a title battle. I think naturally, when you're fighting, other drivers naturally probably give a bit more leeway just because you don't want to get taken out or make a mistake yourself and stuff. But I don't think it's to do with that. I think it is purely just a case of they don't have the pace. This is a difficult circuit as there is a yellow flag
down the man.
Further down, I think down the man sadly spun. So he's sort of lost the will to live in the past few races, it seems, in terms of pace down the line, sadly. But yeah, no, I think it's just a case of Kieran / Kai and Jack Hickey just haven't had the outright pace. And to be honest, Jack Hickey, I'd probably say hasn't had the pace this season. It's just consistency.
Here we go.
Doing well.
Confessor up the inside of Cam, takes P2 from the McLaren man. Cam can't fight that too much. Cam now down to P3, and I'll have Jack Hickey all over him in a moment. Cam's tyres came in a lap earlier than those around him, and looks like those softs have gone off massively because he had a 3-second gap to Jack and Confessor just a few laps ago, and that's now down to nothing as he fights to hold off these two drivers. Already lost one to the Confessor. Looks like he's going to lose another to Hickey at this rate. Kieran's still behind Manatee. Let's see if the McLaren can get back through on the Confessor. Not quite. The Confessor can now start to maybe apply some pressure in the last lap and a half on VFR Glock. But crucially then, Cam P3. Can Jack Hickey get through on Cam? He needs to make sure not to get a penalty himself, otherwise he could drop another place if Manatee can get close enough. But that gap is 5 seconds, so might have a bit of breathing space. Maybe able to push a bit more, knowing that he's not going to lose much if he gets a time penalty anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Hickey doesn't need to do anything. The fact that Cam's got that penalty, he can sit back if he wanted to. I don't think he will. I think he will try and overtake him on the circuit, as I think every driver would. But yeah, I mean, at the minute it's been an interesting race in the sense of a few mistakes as Cam half spins there and nearly takes out Jack Hickey. So there we go. So Jack Hickey's up into third on the circuit before the end. But it looks like Glock will win, barring any last lap penalties. With the Confessor second and Jack Hickey third. But yeah, it's disappointing from the Confessor. I think when he was in TGP1, when he won his title, he was probably the fastest driver in that season, quite clearly. I think it was by 50-something points he ended up winning by. So, and I don't know how much he plays the game, whether it's a lot or barely at all. But this season so far, yes, he's had the pace at some races. This one as an example, but he's making so many mistakes.
Look at Manatee.
Which is not
he's
good.
Just about holding off from Kieran here. Kieran almost made a move over to the chicane. Matt Tibbers has passed John as there was a great battle between them for half a lap. But can Kieran get through on Manatee? He can see his championship rival a few places up. Can Kieran afford to take the risk here? Manatee doing an excellent job to hold on to that top 5. He may even get fourth himself if he can find 2 more tenths. That's all he needs to get ahead of New Zealand Cam, who gets a 3-second time penalty come the end of this race. But Glock is about to win, for the first time this season, become the 6th winner from 6 weeks in TGP1. Kieran, I'm not quite sure he's going to do enough to get Glock, so let's switch to the Williams man. He crosses the line to take victory in TGP1 this season, the first of season 38. Confessor second, Jack Hickey in third, and it's going to be Cam fourth. Is he just about going to hold off from Manatee for P4? Indeed he does by a tenth. And let's switch further back. Looks like Matt Tibbers has got P8 secured. Court gets a penalty, of course, for speeding in the pit lane, which puts Matt up to P7 and John is up to P8. And who's going to get who? Jordan or Jake? They both get in the top 10 and they both get caught as well. A bad race for Ferrari and Alpine.
Yeah, it's unfortunate as Jack Pearson come through the final few corners on the hard tyres for some reason. So that's probably a mistake by his pit crew there. But yeah, I must say, slightly disappointing from Dan the Man there. I think similar to New Zealand Cam and Glock and the Confessor as well. Dan the Man has got the pace at some races, but then in other races he's pretty much nowhere, and a lot of mistakes. So I think Dan the Man doesn't play the game all that much. He does a bit of sweat in time trial, usually the week of the races, and then obviously that night as well. But yeah, I think he sort of needs to sort out his consistency. He's a former champion, a multiple champion as well. So not really what Dan the Man I think will expect or want.
Matt Tibbers, driver of the day, I have to agree. He moved up so many places in that race. But Jack Hickey with another podium finish. Got 4th in Austria, but gets back on the podium at P3 in France. Puts him on 190 points after that race. Kieran, with his 9 points, puts him on 186. So the gap is 4 points. Unless one of those two got as fast as that, but I don't believe they did. I believe that went to someone else, but Glock for the first time. What a race for Glock then. The win and the fastest lap. His first victory of the season. It's so good to see him back at the front here in TGP1.
It is, yeah. Well deserved. You know, he didn't make any mistakes. The Confessor did, and he got the win for it. So fair play to Glock.
Well done to Glock. He is the victory winner here in France. And we've got Odem's P2 alongside him. He'll be a bit disappointed not to have taken the win himself. But Jack Hickey will be happy to finish third and crucially ahead of his title rival. So the order was Cam in fourth, Manatee fifth, Kieran, Matt, John, Jordan and Jake complete the top 10 with Court, Luca, Jack Pearson and Dan the Man completing your top 40. And just outside the points was Lemons, Alistair, Corey, Jack Craig and Phil Bardwell. And who is your driver of the day from that race? Do you agree with Matt Tibbles or do you have someone else in mind?
Oh, you know, it's hard. I would probably say Matt Tibos, yeah. You know, coming from P18 to P7. You know, it's always hard to come through the field, more so on this game as well. So, you know, again, he had a disappointing qualifying, Matt Tibos, but I would say he's the driver of the day with a P7 finish.
Well, what a night it was here in TGP1. We've had a great night. We've had Cam and Glock take wins apiece, and we've had Cam with the most points scored tonight with 37. The championship has switched twice, and it's back in the favour, and it's back again to just 4 points in Jack Hickey's favour as we go into the final 4 weeks. Both of them with 4 wins apiece so far this season. And up next we've got France. Sorry, we just had France. We've got Hungary and Belgium. Just 2 more stints in Europe before we head off to Asia and America. But what a night it's been here in TGP1. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you again next week. Good night.